So we are back here today with another install video for you guys from Tyrant CNC. Today we're working on a Smith Wesson M&P 1.0 and 2.0. This will fit your first gen and second generation Smith Wesson M&P pistols, whether it's a full size or compact. It works on 9mm, 10mm, and 45. What we're going to be installing today is our upgraded and enhanced trigger. So with this trigger, you're not only going to have an improved shoe and an improved trigger pull, but as always, you're going to have that kicked up curb appeal that Tyrant is all about. We're going to show you how to install this today. Let's get started. First off, we want to make sure that our gun's unloaded. We'll remove the mag. We have nothing to do with the magazine today during an install, so we're going to set that aside. Then we just want to visually, manually check the gun's unloaded. It is. So we can push our takedown lever downward. Now we can let the slide go forward. At this point, knowing that our gun is clear, we can pull the trigger, remove the slide as soon as our takedown lever clears. So we're not doing anything with the slide for this install, we're just working on the frame and the trigger. So we're going to set our slide to the side as well. Now with our frame here, we're going to want to get this trigger shoe out that's currently in the pistol, and we're going to need to remove 3 different frame pins. This one that's forward, this one in the middle, and also this one in the rear. That way we can yank the guts out of this frame here. So to get these different pins out, it doesn't really matter what order you remove them, we just need to have all 3 of them out. But we're going to start towards the front and work towards the back. And it's actually easier to knock these pins out from the right hand side. There's a little recess here in the frame that are not pushed all the way in from the factory from Smith & Wesson. So it's easier to take one of our punches, land it into the pocket here, and then you can drive it through with a small little hammer. So if you can drop a punch into this hole, we're going to look to drive these pins out. And what we're going to do is drive them out 1/4 of an inch or so once they get started on the table, and then we can physically lift our frame up and then probably pound it out, hanging onto it into the air. So we're going to start with this first one here, give it a few love taps. It's being a little bucky, so we're going to have to give it more ugga-dugga. Starting to move for us, so that's good. We can go over here, start working on our second one. Got a little bit of movement on our pin here. That one's going to be a lot more compliant. So, can't quite pull that one out, but see we have these pins moving, traveling in the right direction. I'm going to hold this up in the air here, see if we can't make a little magic happen. So we got this pin nearly all the way out. See if we can be strong, yank that out by hand. So we're going to set that roll pin aside. Now this one, tough little bugger, we still need to drive this pin out, so we're going to keep on working on that. It's moving little by little for us. We're going to see if we can get it to pop out over the counter here. We made a lot more travel here. We were just running into the counter before. So we got this moving in the right direction that we want. We're going to see if we can't push that out, that final little bit that we need here. Gosh, that was being a tough little guy. We're going to try and hit that out over the edge of the counter here a little bit further. And now it's finally out. So that's 2 of the 3 frame pins that we need to remove. We just need to get this very last one, this rear one here. So now we're going to try and drive that out as well. Same methodology, we're going to try and push it out right to left. Just get started a little bit. This one seems to be a lot more compliant. See if we can push it. We're pushing, we're pushing, we're pushing. See if we can get it to go all the way. And that one we yeeted across the gun counter. So we got all 3 frame pins out that we want. There's our third guy. Now what we're going to do is look to remove the takedown lever, and we're also going to lift up this trigger block. So we can use our pin that we've been using this whole time, kind of lift this up here, gently lifting this skyward. See if we can't get our takedown lever to come out. That pulls out for us. So now we're going to set this aside. We got that trigger block here, going to keep lifting that up. Can use our little punch here to pry that up. We have our trigger block up. We can set that aside. Now we also have, this is our slide catch, slide release, ambidextrous. We're going to set this aside. And next we have our sear block in the rear. So this whole area here, we have our transfer bar and then our trigger shoe. We're going to do the same thing as our trigger block with our sear block. We're going to try and pry and lift this up. We're lifting, we're prying, we're getting close. See if we can't wiggle this out. So we have this coming out the way that we want. Now we're going to just pull this out of the way. You can set it aside. That's one contained unit. And now we have more or less an empty frame. We do have a magazine release button here. So now we have our transfer bar and our trigger shoe. Now what we want to do is, with our improved one here from Tyrant CNC, we have a hex head screw or an Allen key screw that's holding in this transfer bar. So you can unscrew that out, screw that back in. That's much easier than taking punches and hammers and driving things out. With the factory one by Smith Wesson, not a bad design, but the Tyrant design is better. We have just roll pins that are holding in this transfer bar. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our punch. I have a little bit smaller punch, and we need to push this out just a 1/16 of an inch, a 32nd of an inch of travel, right to left. That way this transfer bar can clear and come out, and then we can insert it into our new Tyrant one. So to get this little bit of push out of here, we're going to set this on the table, and we're going to try and push and knock that out. We only have to go a little ways, so we're not trying to move this a mile. That amount that it's moved already is probably enough, and it is. So you can see, hopefully, we can pull this transfer bar out here. So now this hole we can line up into the Tyrant one, slide it in here, and you can watch that silver kind of come through the screenshot here. And all you need to do is line that up. Now it's lined up. And then the opposite side, we're going to screw that together. But before we do that, what we want to do is, you can see the components that you receive with your Tyrant trigger can be a little Loctite. You get an Allen key, and then obviously your enhanced trigger. You get your Allen key here, so you can back this screw out so that we can add in our transfer bar. And this little tube of Loctite, you do just want to put a little dab on here, because the last thing you want to be doing is blazing at the range, knocking down steel, impressing your friends, and your trigger falls out. So we want to just crack this little guy open. We're going to add a tiny dab of Loctite. Then we can tighten this down onto our transfer bar, and we're going to reassemble our pistol. So let's get into this Loctite here. We're going to go with a scissors here, get this to cut open. Now that we have this guy cracked open, we're just going to get that little drop on the threads here. Like, you don't need a lot. That amount is going to be probably enough for you guys. So then we're going to come back to our transfer bar here. Okay. So there, in that position, we have our spring lined up with our hole. We're also going to have our transfer bar lined up properly. And then we just need to screw this guy down. And I'm going to actually flip this over because sometimes it's easier to see what we're doing in this direction. So right there is where we want to be. So now we can screw this in a little further. And that should be it. You can see that our screw here is going to be flush with the trigger shoe, so that's clearly in all the way. On the opposite side here, it's not sticking out too far, it's flush as well. So that's exactly where we want to be. So now what we can do, we're going to do the reverse order of how we disassembled this. We're going to take our sear block, this one big chunk, and we're going to drop this back into place. This was a self-contained unit. We're not going to fuss with this today. We're going to keep it all together in one piece. So that just popped and pushed back into place. There we go. Now it's all the way into place. Next we can drop our trigger in. We want to make sure that we get this transfer bar inserted correctly. Next, we have our ambidextrous slide catch and release. We're going to drop that in. Next, we have our trigger block. We're going to push this in maybe a third, 2/3 of the way, not all the way, because we need to get our takedown lever back in. So now we got our takedown lever. We're going to push this back into place and just have that hanging down. Then at this point, we can just push the block all the way to the bottom. And now what we need to do is get it so this pin lines up with the hole in the trigger block and the hole in the trigger shoe. So this we should be able to push back in, give it some love tap, see if it'll go through for us. And it looks like it caught our spring exactly like we want, so we can finish sending this home. Now we can take our front pin, pound that one in. In that, we actually want to leave stick out a little bit so our takedown lever runs into it. That's actually beveled out on purpose to catch and hit and run into that. That way it doesn't over travel. Next we can take our rear takedown pin, pound that in. That one's in place. So everything we got going on here looks pretty good. The last thing to do is a function test. We're going to reach out a frame, grab our slide here, we can put this back on, get this going. Can add our magazine in. Gun is empty. It's always been empty. We can try our trigger. Flat facing, gold for the aesthetic, better pins, better screw pins. Check that feel. Nice break. And that is what we want in a trigger. So now you have installed your Smith Wesson M&P 1st gen and 2nd gen compatible Tyrant enhanced trigger. If you have any questions, be sure to comment in the comments below. And as always, check out our channel for more install videos of more rad products coming from Tyrant in the future.